mainstream media bias, where actually if they're not out here sharing what these people are protesting about, nobody knows. So this is another form of keeping what's going on in the black community hush hush. You gave me props and you say thank you. You're glad we have a black platform, which is Rhoda Young Live. You also say you're glad you have Mr. Carlos Howard, which is a black platform on WPCE AM radio. Is it 1350 or 14?
1400.
1400.
1400 and 1350 and WXBX and the Voice newspaper.
And the New Journal and Guide.
And the New Journal and Guide.
Second oldest African American newspaper in the country, next to the Carleton Post, which is the oldest in the United States.
Andre Whitehead and Rhoda Young.
Right. So if we don't have us out here, they are shutting, trying to keep our mouth shut. That's the point we're trying to make. They don't want you guys to know what's going on really going on in your community. It's enough. Wavy News 10, Channel 3, and also Channel 13 News have enough camera people out there. They could have had someone out at this event that's very important, where the city of Virginia Beach lost a whole lawsuit against Natasha Holloway. They're trying to keep it hush hush. How you feel about that?
Well, naturally, because they're embarrassed. And the good news is their appeal is only going to elevate it nationally to embarrass them even more, to show that they are a racist city, that their policies are racist against African American and racial language minorities. But back to the media issue, we have to begin to demand removal of those news directors who profile us and make a decision from others influencing inside that newsroom, outside the newsroom, to exclude us. This has been going on for a long, long time. And even though I believe we have one general manager that's African American in the newsroom, what good does it do to have someone there in a key position that cannot advance the cause of diversity? And as I was sharing with my good citizens here, every now and then they do, I call it a sympathy case. A kid survived from COVID and has a tumor on the brain, and we all praying for that family. But we've seen this movie before, how you exploit our community. And then 60 seconds after that, you're talking about dogs and cats. Someone wants zoning for a pig, and you got a whole segment of that. Or you get a group of white folks who want to gather on top of a garbage heap, Mount Trashmore, and you got a whole segment of that. But you got murdering going on in our community, assassinating our children and mothers and fathers, and you have Our Lives Matter gathering here, and you can't show up. Not
Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter.
All lives matter.
All lives matter.
And here's what I want to say to our brothers and sisters who's got a problem with that.
Okay.
Every movement in the country that we've had all the way back to Dr. Martin Luther King wasn't just all of us. We had a coalition of folk of goodwill from all quarters, all religious backgrounds, joined us, got beat in the head, got murdered, standing up for justice. And now we've got this narrow thinking that somehow if other ethnic groups join and Our Lives Matter is going to take away from our concerns. When we lose one human being to an injustice act, it affects the whole community. It affects the whole region. When that mother that's grieving over the loss of her child, she's not thinking about the race of that child, or that wife who loses her husband, or a family member, a loved one. They're thinking about a loved one. We can't even be moved about the humanity of people, even in their death.
Wow.
And we got to stop that as a people. Every group should have been out here. Every group. When I go to Virginia Beach and I see them marching or whatever, Black Lives Matter, 757, I get in that line, I walk along and celebrate them standing up for justice. It is not justice when you have such self-hate and hate towards all Caucasians are not killing your people any more than all African Americans are killing each other.
Talk about it.
There's good and bad in all cultures.
Talk about it.
And we got to be bigger than what we are now exhibiting. like we can't be a part of that. What is wrong with you? There are people died for us, don't look like us.
Come on.
There are people dying right now, don't look like us.
Come on.
There are people being politically ostracized because they're standing on the right side of history and justice. And we got people talking about, I can't be a part of that because that's going to hurt Black Lives Matter movement, or that's going to undermine some other effort.
And it shouldn't be that way because we're not prejudiced. We're only fighting for the rights of our own
Amen.
race. And so therefore, if Black Lives Matter, they should have been here too, because all lives matter and we're part of all lives, which is Black lives.
Amen.
We don't want to get to a part where we start segregating ourselves from the other races, then we're no better than what they are.
Amen.
When we start segregating ourselves.
Amen.
We don't want to seem like we only stand for the Black people. We want to stand for what's right
Amen.
is right and what's wrong
Amen.
is wrong.
Amen.
I want to get right back to you real quick about this racist bias with the news media. It's important that our people start to learn about these things right quick.
Well, what they do is pretty much like what banking does in terms of meeting the Community Reinvestment Act. All they have to do is very minimal standards. You know, maybe give a check of $100 for a civic league or give a talk, and they've met the CRA Community Reinvestment Act standards for the federal government for that year.
Yes.
We have Barbara Sierra, who's an anchor. We have Janet Roach as an anchor. We have Ashley, I believe her name is Phillips, who is an anchor. We have Regina Mobley and the other young lady at Channel 10. And you cannot tell me, not Alvita is retired, the new anchor with Tom Shad. You cannot tell me that when they sat in these pitch meetings, that not one of them can chime in and say, look, this is important to our communities. We need to cover this. We patronize these stations and buy the products of their advertisers. And these station managers, the Virginian Pilot, the Daily Press, Wavy TV, WTKR, WVEC, Fox, they need to know that our issues and concerns are just as important to us as they are to white people. This is why we're called the Virginia Beach Coalition, because we're not just African Americans. Though you see us, you know, African Americans here now, right now, there are Chinese representatives. There's Latino representatives. There's Filipino representatives, and there's the Black representatives. So it's a multicultural, multiracial movement to end disparities and voter suppression and opposition and disparities. So we need to begin to...
Mr. Carlos, let me get you here. Why isn't Channel 10, why isn't Channel 3, why isn't Channel 13 News out here on the scene showing the community what's really going on?
Because we're not important to them when it comes to major issues. If we were in a crime spree or bank robbery or so, oh man, it'll be everywhere.
But this is a major thing, Mr. Carlos. I'm confused.
Mr.
Carlos, I'm confused.
It's racism.
Listen, Mr. Carlos, it's major.
It's racism.
Mr. Carlos, it's major. We're outside of the federal courthouse. Y'all been out here all morning. Multiple people have been out here. I come late and I asked y'all, have 10, 3, or 13 been here? And the answer was no. This lady won a lawsuit. A major lawsuit against the city of Virginia Beach. Why isn't no news station televising it?
Because we're not chosen.
Well, I'm going to say it. We niggers.
Come on,
talk about it.
That's what they think we are.
Yes.
And when they look at the Asian and the Filipino and the Hispanic and the way that they've disparaged them and marginalized them, they ain't nothing but niggas with straight hair too.
Wow.
To them.
Wow.
And so we've got we've got to make sure when we talk about media bias, we're talking about placement, we're talking about viewership and content, how that's packaged. But we have people in those newsrooms, and I'm going to say it, Carlos and Latasha, they hate us.
Hate us.
They hate us in particular.
I had a problem with that last night and this morning.
They hate us in particular because you can't package us the way you want to
But look,
feed the public.
I'm sorry, but I had to interrupt once again because I'm just beginning this news station I have. Just falling in and out of love with reporting the news. 1 minute I'm in love with it, the next minute I don't want to do it, and I'm confused. Like, why the news station's not out here? But if it was a Black Lives Matter event where they know they're gonna go out there and somebody gonna be arrested, they'll be right there with the cameras rolling. Why they can't come to something that's peaceful? If they think it's gonna be a protest and it's gonna be somebody being arrested or somebody acting ignorant or somebody getting beat up by the police or someone gonna drive through a crowd, they'll be right there when it's negative. Where is the news station?
It's called media profiling, just like we call racial profiling. But again, so what do we do about this now? We have to have a call to action. They depend on a signal. Now, they say most of our young people don't get their news from the local news. They're on social media and other alternative formats. But we've got enough of our family members who are much older. Turn your television off for a month. Every time 5, 6, and 11 comes on the news, 3, 10, and 13, and those other news, turn the television off. Turn it to another channel. Because what we want to do, since they depend on their ratings, we want to make those ratings go dark. Since they don't care nothing about you and your children and your family, then we don't have to be entertained. And after all, they'll just tell us, you could just change the channel. So that's what I'm asking our people to do. Because I am sick and tired. I remember when Luther Vandross died and Phyllis Hyman died. And I had to call the newsroom. And some of those that looked like me said, I feel the same way you do. I hear you. And forced them to have to talk about Phyllis Hyman or Luther Vandross. They weren't important to them. But yet, they find their chosen one and their lily white story they want to package, and they feed it down our throats. And we've had enough of this. And if African Americans in those newsrooms and those anchors and those that have been there and had to work their way up the top, like Regina Mobley and others who have worked their way up the top, because I remember when they weren't there, and we were out here fighting for them to get there. And we talked about upper and middle management. I filed FCC complaints against all the mainstream media that you watch here. They don't like me and I don't like them.
Let me ask you a question. How can we fix it as a community? Is there any way we can request their jobs as well?
No, stop. As Mr. Bay Perry just said, turn your televisions off. Let Albertron and the ratings company go dark on them and their sponsors, and don't buy their products.
Absolutely.
Don't buy their products.
Absolutely.
When you see A1 Roofing or
yes,
or Michaels or anybody, call your neighbor to get your plumbing fixed. Don't support these guys, because what you're doing by supporting them, by watching their station and buying their products, you're paying them to help marginalize and disenfranchise you. So stop buying. And for God's sake, this weekend, black people stay away from Virginia Beach. Don't go down there.
And it's just like that.
And go a step further.
Okay.
We have to go a step further. What we have to encourage our people to do is to call the station manager of all these networks.
Still at this press conference.
And don't be long-winded. Just call them and say, I'm not going to watch your station anymore. I'm not going to buy your products anymore from your advertisers. And I'm going to boycott you. These people will understand when those station managers and news directors start getting fired because they're losing money and they're losing ratings. Then we'll get their attention. And they don't take it serious until they start feeling this. So I'm calling on all of our viewing audience. Do it. Go on social media and tell all your friends on TikTok and Facebook and LinkedIn and wherever you are. Call out your call letters to your local news stations and tell them we're tired of you singling us out for murder, death, mayhem, bloodletting at the top of your news about us. But you show no concern about our humanity. Boycott them, boycott their sponsors, turn the station off, let the station manager know we're boycotting you, let them know that I don't care how many African Americans you pander across that screen to look like us, and how many you sprinkle throughout your network that look like us, you don't care nothing about us, and we're gonna show you with our dollars, we don't care anything about you until you change that behavior. And Dr. Martin Luther King proved this with the Birmingham bus boycott. Economics, they pay attention.
And you heard it here first, just like that. I am an infamous Miss Rhoda Young Live, guys, where it was important that we go ahead and speak about these issues, guys, because everybody want to say, well, Rhoda, you're not a real news reporter. Well, guess what?
What are you?
Exactly. Well, if I'm not a real news reporter, then there would be no news reported in our community. And I'm glad they were speaking about this topic. Where was the news station? They say they out there with the President Biden. I know Channel 10 ain't saying every news anchor they have to see President Joe Biden, okay? I know Channel 13 News didn't. I know Channel 3 News didn't. I am a freelancer reporter. I volunteer my time to share what's really going on in our community. I have the heart for this job, and not just the heart for the job, but also the love and the determination to make sure that all stories be heard. It's time that y'all recognize that y'all need more people like myself and Mr. Carlos Howard and other people out here to share our news. As you can blatantly see, no one cares about what's going on in the black community when it's something good, when it's something great. It's not newsworthy. But allow one of us to shoot and kill each other, then you can expect to see yourself on the 6 o'clock news this evening. Yes. It's a sad day here in Norfolk, Virginia, when we got to start touching it. Channel 10, Channel 3, and also Channel 13 News. Wakey, wakey. And Channel 13 News on their shoulders. Channel 10, Channel 3, and Channel 13 News. If you have ever thought that I was not fit enough to be one of your news anchors, today I have proven you guys wrong. I am standing in the same location that you should have one of your employees standing at. Where are you? We're tired of seeing you guys turn the other cheek and turn your back on important engagements in the beautiful city of Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News, also to include Suffolk, and not share the good things that's going on in our community, brown skin community. All right? We're not just murderers. We're not just thieves. We don't hijack stores, and we just don't rob banks. We got some great things going on that need to be shared.
And we didn't come here as slaves.
And we didn't come here as slaves. We got some great stories that we want to see on our national television show. We want to see you got the airspace, you get paid the dime, now come do your time out here with the black community. Until you guys start standing up for us, we're going to keep calling you out so everybody can recognize where y'all dropping the ball at. No one have never said nothing about this because no one has been paying attention to what they're not doing. You see what I'm saying? They're not paying attention to what they're not doing.
They don't have the guts.
And then they only thing they know is, oh, they put my son on the news. Oh, he was dead. You should be mad he was on the news and he was dead. Yes. Where was Channel 10 News at when he was making A's and B's in school? Yes. When he was getting basketball scholarships and things like that.
And the president you covering, we put him in office.
And the president that they covering, we put him in office. I mean, come on.
Black people.
Outside the federal courthouse where this black woman single-handedly took on the whole city of Virginia Beach and won, and no one is speaking about it. Shame on you guys. Shame on you. You've been called out. You've been watched. And maybe just one day, me and Mr. Carlos Howard, we'll be in charge of Wavy News 10. And then we can make sure we touch all the stories that's going on in the 757.
I like that.
Listen, we're on our way.
We're on our way.
We're on our way. way.
Black owned, black operated?
Black owned, black operated. You know, just like the corporation that I work for, Christian Broadcasting Corporation. Just like your corporation, Rhoda Young, Channel 9. Just like Andrea Whitehead and Salon, and many others.
And many others.
You know, we're here. We're out here. As you said, it wouldn't be news unless you were here.
Right.
And, you know, it's a shame that we are relegated to the level of human that they have done for us. I can't figure out, how do you come up with a 3/5 human? What's a 3/5 human?
Oh?
You know, 3/5 human. That's what they say we are in the Constitution. Robert Taney, the Chief Justice, said when it comes to the Negro in the 13th Amendment, the white man is not obligated to fulfill any covenants with the Negro under due process.
Wow.
And then they put that because we are considered 3/5 human.
Wow.
What's a 3/5 human?
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Saying we have no rights a white man is bound to respect. But I want everyone to also make sure that we support our brothers and sisters in Washington, D.C. to be the 51st state. This is important. We are the majority without a voice. And we need to stop this racist, political, gerrymandering and politicking of our people in Washington, D.C. And if they won't stop, then let's take to the streets and demand it, and also boycott those news media outlets.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, I'm supposed to meet you.
Yes.
Can you tell them give me a little snippet of what we're going to be talking about tomorrow at 2 o'clock p.m.?
Yes, we're going to be talking about one of the most toxic waste sites in the city of Norfolk on Monticello and Virginia Beach Boulevard in the city of Norfolk, Virginia, that has exposed our people, our children, to environmental toxins, the most dangerous carcinogens known to human beings. Many of these kids in the Young Park that they renamed Young Terrorists have poor attendance in school because they have high levels of lead and other contaminants in their blood.
And why is that?
Because the old gasification plant is sitting there with benzene and toluene, the most dangerous carcinogens. It was not capped properly, and now the city is mining the gas because it reaches explosive quantities. So those children catch and release, migrating off-site, the contamination has poisoned us. I am a cancer survivor from that site. And I want to make sure that they understand you're going to pay these children, you're going to pay these families, you're going to pay their generations for poisoning them. This is what this is all about, exposing environmental genocide, environmental racism in the city of Norfolk.
But didn't they pay a white man before for dying from the gas?
They paid Frank Spicer and Calvin Zed a undisclosed settlement because of the pollution coming up. Huh? Okay. Because of the toxins coming up in the basement of their businesses. And I'm sorry. And so we're going to talk more about that tomorrow and how the city has engaged in this environmental cover-up while paying those families off, but the larger segment of the community has not received a dime.
Wow. And we will be back with you guys on tomorrow with this breaking news story, the cover up in the city, in the beautiful city of Norfolk, Virginia, with the gas mines that has been poisoning the black community for years, and subjecting our youth to lead, not just the youth, but even their mothers and their grandmothers.
Absolutely.
Generational curses.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.